All right, I think recording has started. All right, welcome everyone. Good evening. Thank you for being with us this evening with the IIBA Melbourne chapter on this webinar with Igor Arkhipov, What Makes a Great Business Analyst. So my name is Rainer Karnali. I'm part of the events team at the IIBA Melbourne chapter here, and I'll be your host this evening. Along with Lakshmi, who will be helping with the Q&A. So yeah, I'm very excited today where our speaker and close friend of mine, Igor, is here to share his journey, his knowledge, and tips to help you become a successful BA, regardless of industry or organization. But before we get started, I will go through some general housekeeping and answer some frequently asked questions. But first, an acknowledgement of country. So IIBA Australia acknowledges the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognize their continuing connection to land, waters, and culture. We pay our respects to elders, past, present, and emerging, and extend our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present with us today. So as this is a webinar, you will be able to submit questions for the presenters to answer. So please, if you have any questions during the presentation, type them in the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel there. We will attempt to answer all questions when asked, and we will have some additional time at the end of the presentation for some Q&A. And we'll also give you the ability to speak to Igor at that point in time if you're comfortable doing so yourself. So you can turn your mic on at the end of the presentation. If you have any technical support or problems for this webinar, please type a message in the question box, and some of our team members will help to attend any of those technical problems if they arise. And just to let everyone knows again, anyone know again, this webinar is recorded, and a copy will be emailed to you in the coming days. So, would like to introduce you to our tonight's speaker, Igor Arkhipov. Igor business analysis career started more than a decade ago in the basement of a multi-apartment building where he was part of an indie internet advertising firm. Wow, very cool, man. Since then, he's been a business analyst and a BA team manager in a lot of organizations, including being a practice manager for BPM, a cybersecurity organization, a head of BA in a consulting firm, and a manager for an agile delivery practice in the fintech industry. Fantastic. Igor is also founder of Analyst Corner. This is an IIBA endorsed education provider, which focuses on liberating the BA education, leveraging peer learning through a community blog and affordable paid options for anyone interested in the BA space. You can find more information about the Analyst Corner at www.analystcorner.org. Now, without further ado, we will turn this time over to Igor. Igor, welcome, Igor. I'll stop sharing and let you share your screen.
Thanks, Rainer. My day's been all right. I'm glad it's almost end of the week. All right, let me share my screen. I think you need to stop sharing.
Yeah.
Cool, and I will take over. Just let me know when you can see my screen. You can never know with this technology if it actually worked.
Yes, can see your screen.
Perfect. All right, hello everybody. Thanks for joining. It's nice to be here. So I've noticed pretty much everybody is off their videos, which is okay. But if you feel like showing your face and participating with video, I would really appreciate it, because otherwise I feel like I'm talking to myself, and that sounds really creepy. So
don't worry.
Anyway, I'm not insisting. Just asking for a little bit of support if I can. Oh, thanks, Emma. This one person. Turn it on. All right. Anyway, let's get into it. So thanks for the introduction, Rainer. I'm joining this call from Melbourne. I don't know where everybody else is from, but I'm from here, and this is the land traditionally owned by Wurundjeri people of Kulin Nations. So I acknowledge their traditional custodianship of the land and water where we live and work and do all this fun stuff like this webinar. And I pay my respects to their elders, present and past. So, as I mentioned, joining from Melbourne, from my home, surrounded by 2 kids, a dog, and a cat. So, if you accidentally hear them in the background, I'm sorry, there is nothing I can do about it, literally. So, I hope it won't disturb us too much. And after the introduction from you, Rainer, I don't know if I need to say much on this slide, to be honest. So yeah, my name is Igor. I've been a business analyst for, I don't know, over 15 years now. I've been doing things that can be broadly referred to as business analysis. Got a couple of industry certifications, certified business analysis professional, got certification in business data analytics, and other things that I guess formally make me eligible to host this conversation and share my experience. I don't know. You will tell me by the end of this call if it was actually worth it. So these 15 plus years I spent in different industries. I started in e-commerce, as Rainer mentioned, in the basement of a building. And actually, a little bit later in this webinar, I will tell you more about that place of work because I think it was hilarious. So I worked in e-commerce for a bit, loved it, and I hope to come back to all things e-commerce and digital at some point, but not yet, unfortunately. Spent a couple of years in cybersecurity, did some consulting, retail, and last 2.5 years in financial services industry. So as a part of that journey, I was a hands-on individual contributor, business analyst. I think that's the right term, but also managed different teams, including teams of business analysts, process analysts, and delivery leads. As Rainer mentioned, I have little hobby business of mine, which I love, Analyst Corner. I endorsed it through IIBA. They were kind enough to actually acknowledge that it kind of makes sense, all the things I'm talking about. So now I have that seal of approval. And if you are looking for some extra PDUs, you can explore different options on that website, just online training courses to develop a skill or to prepare for certification.
It's on my to-do list, Igor, to submit an article or two. I know.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'll remind you if I don't see it soon. Cool. Yeah, and also one of the things about me, some time ago, I've noticed that quite a lot of my fellow business analysts, project managers, and other people that work in IT, they don't actually start in information technology. They may start elsewhere. And just chatting to them and trying to figure out what were the issues and challenges they had when starting working in IT. What I did, I actually put it all together into a book, which I published last year. You can find it on Amazon if you're curious about what IT is. It's similar to, information technology for dummies. Just instead of being for dummies, it is for project managers and business analysts who want to start their career in IT. And no, I did not call project managers and business analysts dummies just then, but yeah, it kind of sounded like that. Anyway, so if you're curious to learn more about IT, you can find it. If you've been in IT for a bit, you probably don't need to bother. You know the stuff already, I'm pretty sure. So I can talk about myself for quite some time, but I'm pretty sure that's not why you folks have joined the call today. So we're going to talk about what makes a great business analyst. And truth be told, it is not a simple question to answer. And if I'm being really honest, probably there is no easy way to answer this question. And the reason being, how do we define great? And what makes someone great in the eyes of one person may not make them great in the eyes of another person. So I was thinking, how do I approach this topic? And what do I talk about? So I've decided to actually share a couple of stories and anecdotes from my life and kind of show you a little bit of my own professional development and how my views changed, and maybe hopefully use some anecdotes from the past to inspire you a little bit or give you some food for thought, or maybe provide you some foundation for starting your own thinking process and land maybe even on a different answer to the same question. But if the things I'm talking about today will resonate with you or will get you to think about something or maybe entertain you for a little bit, I will think that I've accomplished my goal for today. So let me start. And where do I start? I'll probably start from the beginning. Many years ago, I found myself in the university studying to become a business analyst. And that is the beautiful building that my uni was located at in the center of Moscow. The problem with that building was though they only allowed like really cool faculties to study there, economics, finance, international relationships. All the computer geeks like myself, they were sent to another campus, which was nothing beautiful or fancy at all. And probably it was, to contain us away from normal people so we don't spread our geekiness to, normal folk. In addition, they also added a faculty of psychology next to us in the same building. And I'm pretty sure it was done on purpose. So we got someone to, look after the computer geeks. Anyway, maybe it was just a fun coincidence, but I was doing a lot of subjects at the time, mostly focusing on things related to computer science, business informatics, business process management, so I can choose my career and then do some things. And at the time, they were teaching us some things about business analysis. It was around the time when I think BA book 1.2 or 1.3 was around, and people really didn't hear much about it. So we didn't really have like a standard to refer to, and people had opinions about what business analysis is about. So at some point, one of our professor dudes, I'm still confused about university titles, I don't know how to call those people, but I'll stick with that, explained business analysis to us like this. A business analyst helps non-technical folk understand what technology does. And back in the day, I loved this definition because I was young and ambitious, and I loved the idea of coming there as, some sort of a superhero who can talk technical gibberish in a way that people will understand me. I just love that
Igor,
image in my mind.
yes,
And,
this one is always a challenge for us. If I talk to my friends and family on a barbecue, say, okay, you're a BA. Okay, what's a BA? So you analyze business, or what do you
yep.
guys do? But
Yes,
this
you
one,
know what's the worst one is when you explain it to them and they follow it up with, so do you do any actual like work? That's the worst one. So yeah, anyway, love that definition back in the day. However, now I hate it. I think it can be just further away from truth than this. And the reason being is it kind of paints a picture of that superhero, of someone who has some superpowers or something, just coming there and helping people understand something that they can't understand without you. That's not true. People in general are not dumb, right? They know what technology is about, especially today when technical proficiency in 7S is not reserved by IT departments. It is very common in business people. In fact, business people know their technology much better than like IT department people do. And often when I go and talk to some of the business stakeholders, they tell me how it works, not me telling them how it works. So that definition may have been true some time ago, but it's definitely not true anymore. Anyway, that's where it all started for me. And before I go into like the details of how that view changed in my mind over time, I really want to ask you a question. What do you folks think is the key business analysis skill? And the way I'm going to do it is with the help of my friends from IIBA. What is going to happen now is we will actually break down this call into breakout rooms. So you'll have an opportunity to meet a couple of people that you've hopefully never met before. So trying to bring, some of the good old vibes of in-person events into this online thing. So what I want you to do in those small groups, say hello, share your name. If you feel like it, turn on your camera to make it a little bit more personal. Maybe share some of your contact details, LinkedIn, email, if you are into it, to stay in touch after this webinar. So at least you go out of this probably with a few new professional connections. But also share your view. What do you think is or are some of the key BA skills today? Shall we do it?
Sure.
All right, so we will probably have about 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes in the breakout rooms. Should probably be enough. And then we will come back and we will continue from there.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
I
I hope some
think
magic is happening in the background to get us into the rooms. Coming back. Is everyone back?
Yes,
All
everyone
right.
should be back now.
Perfect. I hope we haven't lost a few people along the way. All right. Welcome back, everyone.
We're
I hope
back.
you enjoyed your little
We're back.
conversation.
Yep. That's
Right.
good. That's good.
Yes, it was interesting.
Oh, that's great. I hope you made a few new friends while doing that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ask you to do one more thing. It'll be much easier than talking in the breakout room, trust me. So if you could take your mobile phone, if you got one handy, if not, maybe just open a separate browser tab, because what I'm going to ask you to do is to share some of the insights from this conversation. So if you can point your phone at that QR code, or alternatively go to slido.com and use that number to join this conversation, you'll be able to just send a message which will appear here on the screen. And I really hope that it will work, because I haven't actually tested this thing before. So let's see how it goes. So according to your partner or partners, people that you spoke to, what are the key BA skills today? So try to give it an answer. Stakeholder management.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm
see the
tapping
first
in.
answer. So it works. Perfect. Technology hasn't failed me. Oh, I like curiosity there.
It works. I think
Yeah.
it works. Um,
All right. So I feel like we've got two big themes going on here, all about communication and active listening communication, and all about building trust and relationships and managing stakeholders. So great. Yeah, and look, I don't have right or wrong answer to this. I was just curious to see what will come out of this conversation and what will be the theme, because it's a learning exercise for me as well to see what people are thinking about when talking about key business analysis skills today, and not many years ago as it was in my uni days. All right. Just probably in the interest of time, we will move on soon. I'll just wait for a couple of last answers to pop up. I love that BA book is there. Thank you, whoever did that. I think IIBA would be pleased. Process mapping is a new thing that happened there. Transparency, continuous learning, yeah, active listening, reasoning. Oh, I love reasoning there. Thank you. All right. Thanks, all. I hope you enjoyed this little exercise. And now let's jump back in time to my days of past when I was much younger and probably a little bit less wise than I am now. At least I like to think like that. So I started in the university and I started to look for my first job. And well, I'm kind of lying a little bit here. I didn't use Seek or LinkedIn because LinkedIn was not around, I think. And I have no idea about Seek. I was not in Australia, so they didn't have Seek back then. So anyway, I started looking for my first job, and it was a bit of a journey. And I want to share this journey because I think the whole story is kind of hilarious. So what happened then is I got at some point a message after kind of sharing my profile on all the job forums for students. I received a message in ICQ. I don't know if anyone remembers what ICQ was back in the day. It was like a somewhat popular messenger many years ago.
You're revealing your age, Igor.
Yeah, I'll stop giving away cues about how old I am. I'm actually
You're
quite young.
revealing your age.
Anyway, so a guy reached out to me and asked me if I want a job to test things, and I quote, complexity of a calculator. So something not super complex, but kind of with a bit of math involved. And of course I said yes, because I wanted a job. I didn't care what it was about. So I went for the interview. And when I arrived at the location, and that is that indie internet advertising firm that Rainer was mentioning, it took me to an apartment building, like in a suburb, and there was a huge metal door in front of me to enter that like office space, like really heavy metal door, like this thick, taking me into the basement. And that's where the office was meant to be. So I opened that door, a little bit struggling, it was really heavy. And I go down into like a dark and gloomy and long corridor. So I go down that corridor and it ends with kind of a dead end with a turn to a side. And in that end, there is like a huge poster of like indigenous American like Indian chief with full like war attire, and there is an altar in front of that guy with candles that were actually lit. They also had some tambourines on the side, like on the walls, and I got a feeling that it's not a genuine job ad, and it's some sort of a cult going on here, because I was like, where have I gotten myself into? But I was there, so I decided to push through. I turn to the side. I go there and I see a kitchen, nice little kitchen. There's a TV on the wall and two guys playing, like I think PlayStation or something, quite emotionally, like really an emotion. And then suddenly, another guy with amazing long blonde hair. I still remember how beautiful his hair looked. He just runs into the kitchen and starts telling them off that they actually need to stop playing and get back to work. And they effectively tell him to get lost, to which he was kind of a bit, upset. So he goes away. He goes to the power switch board next to the kitchen and he just turns off the electricity in the kitchen. So the two guys had to go back to work because they couldn't continue playing. So that long-haired guy turned out to be the chief operating officer of that business and my future boss for about 3 years. So as you can see, that was an amazing place to start your career at. And I still have a photo of that altar. It was taken on one of those like old Nokia phones, really bad quality, but that blurb of light at the bottom, actually it's a collection of candles and it was literally on fire every day there. So yeah, they've got fire extinguisher next to it. I guess that counts as safety. I don't know, but that was the place. So I love that job. I spent amazing 3 years there. But probably one of the things that I figured out really quickly is they have no idea what a business analyst does. They kind of thought it would just be, a person who would go there and through sheer magic tell their developers what to do, which, by the way, is fair enough, and it is much closer to the definition of business analysis in my books. But anyway, effectively what happened is I had to figure it out on my own. What do I do as a business analyst, and what is the best way for me using those skills to help this company? And interesting thing happened. Over time, I was changing jobs, doing some like short-term gigs, or just looking at what happens in other businesses. And the pattern kind of remained. Not the pattern with the cult thing, right? The pattern was companies not really knowing how to cook their business analysts, and not having an opinion what's the best way to fit a business analyst into their company to be successful. So often it falls on the BAs themselves to either find a way to be valuable or to not find a way to be valuable. And effectively, if they want to be good at what they do, at doing business analysis, they kind of have to find their own way of how to do it. Effectively, how to apply that business analysis to the company so that the company can actually succeed or get value out of them, get the best value out of their skills and ability. And I feel like almost there is a bit of a confusion in the industry. Who is a business analyst? And the thing is, I feel like there is no actual single answer that would answer that question. There are some official definitions by IIBA, BCS, and others. But if you look at the job descriptions of like what people are actually looking for in business analysts, you can get a completely different profile of a person every time you read the job description. And let's take an example. Let's imagine you go to CBD, like of wherever you are in the world, and you just start going, around the CBD, knocking on the doors of the businesses and just asking them random questions, like random organizations, random questions. Who are your business analysts? What do they do? Who do you call a business analyst? Do you even have business analysts in your business? And the thing is, you will probably get as many different answers as many organizations you actually ask. In one place, people would say something like, oh, business analyst, that's our documentation or like data flow girl or a boy. In another organization, they would say, oh, business analyst, that's our business process guru. They map processes. Someone would definitely tell you something along the lines of, oh, we used to have business analysts, now they're product owners, or things like that. Because, everybody's got a transformation and they need to relabel people as a part of it. So there is huge diversity in what people with the title of business analyst do, or rather with the skill set of a business analyst do. And this particular slide, I used it at a conference a couple of years ago. And my historical answer to this situation would be, that is okay. That is because business analysis actually provides similar value regardless of the specifics of how the practitioners do it. So if you are a business analyst, what would you normally do? You will understand what the hell is going on, current state analysis. You will understand what is everybody's problem, what are the business needs and requirements. You will figure out how can we solve it, what are the options for implementation, and then you would recommend which option seems like a good idea in this particular case. So you would recommend solutions, and then when solutions are built, you would probably get involved in further refining them and validating if they actually delivered the expected value. And that kind of stays the same regardless of your job title or specifics of those solutions. So if we look at some of the definitions, and I love to criticize IIBA and IIBA guide for some of their definitions. They tend to be really convoluted and overloaded at places, but I really loved what they did here. So like really, hats off, amazing decision. What they say is a business analyst is anyone doing business analysis as described in the IIBA guide. So they kind of abstracted away from that complexity of the industry, and they say, hey, if you do what we consider to be business analysis, from our point of view, you're a business analyst. So read our book and you will get value out of it. And I think that's a very smart move. So how do they define business analysis, right? Business analysis is the practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to the stakeholders. Business analysis enables an enterprise to articulate needs and the rationale for change, and to design and describe solutions that can deliver value. So if you are doing that, you are a business analyst. And this is a very broad definition that can be interpreted in kind of many ways. But in a nutshell, as a business analyst, you help business do what they do a little bit better. I think that's, in my mind, a really good way to just summarize it. So what do you do? Well, I help my business run smoothly. I help people dedicate their time and effort and resources to things that make sense to spend them on, to get more value from. So that's what I do as a business analyst. I don't write specifications. I mean, I do, but that's a byproduct. The reason I'm in the business is not to create specifications. It is to enable change. So coming back to the kind of the professional development journey and career development journey, what often happens is someone gets their first job or first couple of jobs, and they learn the way of working. They learn what works in that particular company. And that's where, in my mind, an interesting, almost a quality leap happens or doesn't happen. people may stick to that way of doing things and consider this to be business analysis incarnated. That's what business analysis is about. And people may even be really good at it and really respected for being able to do it in their company or in multiple companies. But sometimes I feel like there's a trap that people may forget to ask a very important question. Why do I do the things I do? Why these particular things are needed from me? And unfortunately, people who don't ask these questions, they form the majority of what I call average BAs on the market. Why do I call them average is because, not because they're not good at what they're doing, they're great. But I call them average because often it will be a challenge for them to provide the same value in a different setting or in the different organization. And that's, in my mind, what is the big difference between like an average good working BA and a gun business analyst who can make a difference at like every place. So at the essence of the profession, business analysis is about enabling change in the business context. To do so, one day you need to understand what is the software solution that we need to build, or which features do we need. Another day, we need to scope a business process change and make sure the new process flows naturally. Another day, we need to run a big training and capability uplift program in the organization because that's the best solution to the business problem. And all of this is done to help business run business better. So when performing business analysis, we want to apply a holistic method of business analysis that is kind of free of bias of some previous decisions or some methodologies and tools that we used before. So we need to focus on at the core of the profession. What is the problem? What is the value we're trying to deliver? And what is the best way to deliver that value? And unfortunately, sometimes it goes terribly wrong, and we can get in all sorts of trouble when it happens. So I can give you an example. I was working for a consulting company for quite a few years, and this story happened when I just started with that business. So yeah, there was like a big project for that company, probably one of the biggest at that time in their history. And when I joined, they were kind of midway through that big project. So a consulting business, huge client, trying to deliver some software solution. So what I've observed when I started, one of the first things that kind of stood out for me was they were trying to agree on a particular document for about 5 months. So the consulting company and the client, and that document was called interaction specification. So if you've ever heard about them, it's kind of an old schoolish document. I don't see them around anymore, but it's a document that explains kind of what are the visual interfaces that the solution will have and kind of annotates them with expected interactions, thus interaction specification. So a bit old schoolish, but it was okay back in the day. The story happened about 8-9 years ago. So there was something about that process that really concerned me. Maybe it was the fact that it took them, I don't know, 5 bloody months to discuss a simple document. Or maybe it was the fact that that simple document was somewhere between 200 and 300 pages long, which was ridiculous for the simple solution that the company was building. So something was really off. And I was trying to, figure it out. What was wrong there? Why it took them so long? Why it feels so strange? And basically, it turned out that the same document was actually trying to contain interface specifications, which is fair enough, what you expect from this type of document, as well as a whole bunch of business rules, some elements of backend integration logic, some business requirements like, ease of solution maintenance and so on and so forth, like non-functional requirements. So it took them forever to just do anything about it because they mixed up all the types of requirements in one place. And because they didn't do it consciously, it just so happened at every level, that document had gaps. It wasn't it was the full specification of business requirements. It wasn't a full specification of functional, non-functional requirements. It had like elements of this and that, and it confused people they were not happy to sign it, but they couldn't really put their finger on what was wrong. They couldn't articulate why it felt wrong. It was really like, like seeing one of those eerie images on the internet that look okay at the first sight, but then as you stare longer and longer, you realize that some individual elements are kind of wrong and creepy one by one. I actually have an example of such a picture here because I think it illustrates the document perfectly. So just look at it. At first, it looks okay, and then you suddenly realize that the lady is holding a kid with a tentacle, and like a vision impaired person on the left is eating what looks like a human eye on his plate, and there's like a skull in the cup, and so on and so forth. So little like creepy elements are kind of popping out of the picture.
Where do you get this picture, man?
Yeah, so that document was exactly like this. At the face value, it looked okay. It had nice structure, really well written, beautiful interface designs. But then you start reading it and, like things just pop out of it and they just strike you as weird, out of place. They shouldn't be there. So, yeah, the problem was really mixing concepts there, which was not easy to pick up at first. But the longer you look, the more of these things you see. So what went wrong on that project? First of all, the project was not a success, like from any point of view. That confusion and lack of direction from the requirements perspective caused a lot of quality issues. So when building different elements of the solution, the engineers were confused what was agreed with the client, what was expected, how the things were expected to work. And because the original requirements document was effectively built off interaction specification that focused on end users, like external customers, a whole bunch of requirements for backend users were almost completely missed from the document. So the developers were left kind of on their own to figure out how the backend experience is going to work. And when the real backend users saw the product, they were not happy, to put it mildly. They didn't like it at all. So the client didn't want to accept the features because in their view, there were too many defects and the features were hard to work with. And that's another thing that, in my mind, a good business analyst helps to overcome. When business analysis is done right, we increase the quality of the solution because we reduce the risk of introducing errors and having a situation like this where no one knows what good quality looks like. So that's your quality assurance in its pure form. And finally, this solution was really hard to just hand over into the operations. It was hard to teach the actual backend users how to use it because it was so poorly designed from the backend and user UX point of view. And that's another aspect of business analysis that is not often directly spoken about, but forms a massive part of what we do, or rather can do in an organization, and that's change management. Because it's our job to enable change in the organization, not to prepare specification, design process, or perform UAT. The job is to enable change, and the rest is kind of secondary. So organizational change management becomes a big part of what we can do, and one of the key skills that we need to be successful in our job. And we need all of this to help the companies avoid situations like this. So this project, it was south of $1 million over budget. To put it in perspective, it was almost twice the original budget, if not more than that. And it was about a year behind the schedule because of all these issues. But you know what the worst part is? The client retired the product in just a few years. So it spent in operation pretty much the same time as it spent in construction. So that was bad. Now, question is, was business analysis the only thing that went wrong in that project? No, like a lot of things went wrong. That company clearly at that stage didn't know how to deal with bigger enterprise clients, and it showed like on every stage of the project. But business analysis was unfortunately one of the things that went wrong. And if it was done right from the beginning, it may have made the project, well, less of a failure. Let's put it this way. So why did it go this way? That's the question. And well, I don't know. I wasn't there at the start of the project, but I have an assumption. The business analyst or the person performing the business analysis role just didn't know any better. They learned one way of capturing the requirements, and they did it project to project, and it worked on smaller, less complex projects. And the person had that pattern of using the same technique on all of the assignments. And that was almost the undoing of this project, because unfortunately, the same technique just wouldn't work on a project of a different type or complexity. So to sum it all up, the three areas that in my mind form kind of the core of what we as business analysts should be focusing on. These three qualities: scope management, quality management, and change management. So this stuff is not, unfortunately, directly written in big books like the IIBA Guide, which is a bit of a shame. But that's probably because the IIBA Guide, for example, focuses on knowledge area specific techniques, not so much trying to define responsibilities in organizations, which is fair enough. That's up to you and your organization to define what is it you're responsible for in this particular business or on this particular project. But I think, yeah, these three, at least they resonate really well with me. Manage the scope of changes, ensure quality of the products, and work on the organizational change management to ensure your solutions actually stick with the business and deliver the change that they were meant to deliver. So I want us to spend a little bit more time on these three things. So I'm going to kind of get a little bit deeper into each one, just a tiny bit, without too many details. So the first one, scope management. What does it mean for us to nail our scope management? At any moment in time, someone needs to know what do we do and why do we do it. So in my mind, that's the essence of scope management. The same person typically will need to understand if a particular task or activity is included in the job or not. So that's your scope management, effectively, in a nutshell. That's if you're able to answer these questions, you're doing your scope management, right? And then when we're talking about scope, there are kind of two important aspects that we need to draw a line between. So there is the scope of the solution or of the product, and there is the scope of the project to deliver that solution. And often there is a bit of confusion between the two, so I just thought I'll probably pop it up here on the screen. So in simple project management terms, there is a piece of product that needs to be delivered. I actually have a different slide about it. And if there is a piece of product to be delivered, there should be some activity or some effort to actually get it done, to actually deliver it. So everything in blue, why we're doing it, the goal, how we're going to achieve it, the solution, what the solution consists of, the components, that's the scope of your product. And that's what a business analyst looks after typically. All the actions and activities to get that stuff delivered is something that usually forms a part of your initiative or project scope. And that's what a typical project manager would do for a project. So yeah, that's in simple words, the difference between business analysis and project management. You're welcome. Anyway, moving on. Quality management. It's not enough to just deliver something, right? We can specify best-in-class product, but if it is not built to an acceptable level of quality, it will not deliver the value. So we will, once again, fail at driving meaningful change. So a business analyst is usually the one who defines acceptable characteristics of the product and sees that they are actually respected by everybody involved in the delivery. So a business analyst almost serves like a quality advocate, answering the question, what is good enough quality? How do we achieve it? And how do we prove that the quality is achieved? So that's your quality management. And last, but definitely not least, change management. From the very definition of business analysis profession, ensuring that the change sticks with the business is a big part of what we do. It's not enough to build the product. It's not enough to make sure it is of good quality. We need to make sure that the organization is ready to adopt it and is happy to do it. And that is also a big part of enabling change, enabling valuable change. So, trying to sum it all up a little bit. What is the difference between a good business analyst and a great business analyst? A good business analyst can learn process and tools. They can apply them in a different organization, in a different setting. They master their tools. But a great business analyst understands what value they deliver when applying those skills, and they can deliver the same value in a different place. So in my mind, that's a big quality leap from a good business analyst to a great business analyst. At least that's how I've been answering this question for a long time. However, recently, my view started to shift a little bit, being influenced by minds much greater than mine. So that's not the end. It's just a part of the answer. Let's keep going. What I see today is a lot of other people who are not business analysts, and they never consider themselves to be business analysts. They are applying a lot of skills that we would call the core business analysis tasks in their roles. And they're 100% sure it is their job to do it. And when I look at it, I go, well, isn't it a business analyst job? I'll give you a couple of examples. A couple of years ago, I was working on a technical project, and a solution architect would approach me and say, I'll quote, "I've been working on this project and I decided to write a whole bunch of user stories to help scope it a little bit better. Could you review the stories and tell me if they're any good?" And I was like, wow, that's an interesting turn of events.
I've seen that one too. It happens.
Yeah.
It also, sometimes the developers can also write stories or become a BA, or the UX or the design person becomes a BA. Everyone can suddenly try to, implement their BA skills into requirements or some sort of solution designing. So yeah, it's all kind of mixed up.
Yeah. So it is happening, and I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just acknowledging that it is a thing, and it's an interesting turn of events. So that guy didn't come to me to, write stories for his project. He came to me to check if he's applying the technique right. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And that's another example. More recently, I was on a call with a few people discussing like a technical issue and how we can go about fixing it. And the head of data team then sends an email with a link to a Confluence page where he lists multiple solution options and a whole bunch of details, pros and cons of each option. And I was like, wow, that's top-notch business analysis, man.
So they're doing our job. That's good then.
Yeah. So at the same time, what I also see is a lot of successful business analysts. Well, I use the term successful, but maybe it's not the right term. A lot of appreciated business analysts. They are the ones who care about things that are way beyond the role that they get shoehorned into by their job description. Things like overall project or business success and outcome beyond their immediate responsibility. Effectively, they act as almost like delivery leads with specialized tool set and skill set of a professional business analyst. And that made me think, maybe there is a shift in what business analysis is about, because there is definitely a shift in the world around us. And I will give you an example, which I like, just because I like it. About 25 years ago, a major report came out by the Standish Group. It was called the Chaos Report. I'm not sure if you heard about it before. The Standish Group is a group of scientists somewhere in the middle of Europe. And what they do is every 5 years, they conduct a massive study of IT projects around the globe. They study like tens of thousands of projects. And their goal is to identify what makes projects fail. And then they produce a report, which they call Chaos Report. So about 25 or even 30 years ago, I don't remember when the first one came out, they created one of these first reports, and they said that effectively missing requirements or problems with requirements is #1 reason why IT projects fail. And that report was quoted a lot of times, like everywhere. Even me, when I was writing my master's thesis many years ago, I quoted that because it was everywhere. Everybody knew that missing requirements is #1 problem for IT projects and for their success. However, time has passed, and they've analyzed a whole bunch of new projects and the reasons they fail. And in the recent report, which came out, I think about 3 years ago, they say that actually the teams that try to define 100% of their requirements upfront are more likely to fail. So they're actually advocating that having the requirements defined upfront is not your prerequisite for success. You can sort things out as you go. There are other things that may make your project successful or fail it eventually. So before I give you the answer, what they actually marked as the #1 kind of predictor for success, I want you to think a little bit and maybe share your views. So if you could reach for that phone or open that slider again, what do you think is today the #1 metric for project success? So if you were to measure only one thing about your project that will tell you whether this project is likely to be successful or a failure, what would it be? What would you look at?
#1, that is very tough. There's got to be a few.
Maybe not #1, but if you were to track only one metric about the success of your project, what would it be? Okay. Return on investment is a good one, but I would argue it is too late to measure it, to predict the success. So it's something you would probably know after the fact. Clear vision, love it. Business value added. I think business value added is probably close to return on investment. It might be a little bit too late to use it as a predictor. Adapt changes. I love adapt changes. It's very close.
I've got one, that feature adoption, Igor.
Feature adoption. Nice. Okay. Yeah, I think adoption is, again, close to return on investment. So you'll only know after the fact your feature is delivered. So you wouldn't actually use it as a predictor for success. You'll probably use it as a measurement of success after it is done. Feedback, pay rise. Love it. Nailed it.
Important.
Whoever did that. Yeah, look, people, look after your people, pay them well, and they'll do a good job. Understanding the success metrics up front. Cool. All right. Okay. I haven't seen the one that actually came out in that report yet. And once again, it's not my opinion. It's some really big brains somewhere in, I think, Belgium, but don't quote me on this, put together based on like around 80,000 projects that they analyzed over the last 5 years. So what they tell us is they give us this little piece of statistics. A project estimated at $1 million in labor will encounter roughly about 1,000 decision points throughout this project. When it is estimated as $10 million in labor, it will generate up to 10,000 decision points. And if we think about it, just imagine if you pay someone $200 an hour as their rate to make decisions, and it takes them 1 hour to make a single decision, and they've got 10,000 decision points, it is $2 million out of $10 million total cost of the project, which is 20% of the budget. Now, let's be honest. No decision will ever be made by one person in 1 hour. It will take a committee a week or multiple weeks to make a decision. So they actually advocate that the speed of decision-making is one of the biggest and most reliable predictors for project success. So if the project can accumulate fast speed of decision-making, they're likely to succeed. Even, and that's super surprising, even if those decisions are wrong, they will be much faster to make a wrong decision, recognize it, and make a right decision based on feedback than some organizations would take to make the right decision, but way, way too late. So to me, that was a fascinating piece of data and an interesting insight. So as a business analyst, what can we do to make our project succeed? Well, based on this analysis, whatever we can do to speed up the decision-making and to ease the life of people in charge of making decisions will probably have a tremendous effect on the success of our projects. And by doing that, we will save our organization money, time, nerves, and will also promote our own value. So another thing that I got from the same report, which resonated a lot with me, is that the whole concept of projects slowly becomes outdated. The technology teams are moving towards different models to deliver value. They're moving towards some of those value stream models, or if you've heard this term before, flow models. These value stream models are designed to make fast decisions and to uncover needs and requirements over time as those emerge. And for those value streams to be successful, they need to be supported by certain delivery skills. And business analysis is one of that skill. But the role of those delivery people will be less prescriptive. It will be more like you've got your value adding stream, and you've got one or multiple delivery people assigned to that stream whose job is to unblock the progress. So no more project managers, business analysts, iteration managers, you name them. Just delivery professionals who are cross-functional enough to support their delivery stream. The report called them producers, but I don't think it matters. And I personally don't like the term producer, but who am I to judge? Anyway, this blows my mind because it makes a lot of sense. So if you remember what I was telling just a couple of minutes ago, a lot of really well appreciated and respected business analysts are actually doing this. That's what at least I've seen a lot. Like a really good, great business analyst would be the one who supports the delivery of value, regardless of whether a particular activity or task is on the list of their job responsibilities. So I want to make a prediction here, and I'm happy to be 100% wrong because that's what happens with predictions. Over time, I expect to see less and less demand for business analysts because the role will be blending with other aspects of delivery or other aspects of adding value. However, we will see the demand for business analysis skills and mindset to grow. So more and more professionals will see benefit in having business analysis skills and being able to apply business analysis method to whatever they're doing. So from that point of view, having BA skills is an amazing Kickstarter for anyone's career, or pretty much any career in related industries, because that foundation can open hundreds of different career doors, layering your industry knowledge, your role-specific process and tools knowledge on top of that BA foundation that we get from business analysis training, core methodology, things like IIBA Guide and other books. So what makes a great business analyst? Another iteration of the same question. A good business analyst will know how to manage scope, quality, and change. A great business analyst will know how to blend their skills with the skills of others to unblock the delivery of value. So that's my second iteration or attempt at defining what does a great business analyst do. And I would have finished here and I would have said thank you and goodbye, but very recently I had a chat with a very smart person. And that smart person told me that in their opinion, there is another skill that is defining for a great business analyst. And that skill is imagination. And that resonated a lot with me as well. Also because that company, the Standish Group, they actually have a role of a person who signs that report and actually that confirms it to be true. And their job title is Chief Dreamer. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So imagination or ability to dream about good solutions, I feel like it is so natural to business analysis. When you're stuck with all of the problems and issues and constraints, it takes a lot of imagination and a lot of that ability to dream to actually come up with something that will solve all these problems and to share it with others, to dream of a great future state and share that dream with your stakeholders to inspire them and take them on the journey together with you. So to extend on that definition, a good business analyst knows how to manage scope, quality, and change. A great business analyst knows how to blend their skills with those of others to dream of better solutions and share these dreams with others. So that's my current iteration of what I think makes a great business analyst. So I wish you to use your business analysis skills wisely and live long and prosper. I think we still have a couple of minutes for Q&A. Yeah, keep on dreaming.
Yes.
I'll just share a couple of links here if you want to stay connected with me or talk about anything after this call, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, get a couple of links to some stuff that I do. So yeah, feel free to reach out, and yeah, get a couple of minutes if there are any questions or anything that you want to comment on or discuss. Feel free to do it.
Yes, fantastic. Thank you very much, Igor. Loved it. Loved that at the end you share those dreaming concept. I'm going to update my LinkedIn profile to CDO very, very soon. So yeah, keep on dreaming. So the next part is Q&A. I would like to introduce Lakshmi. Hi, Lakshmi. She will host the Q&A session. You can stop sharing your screen. Yeah.
Hi, Lakshmi.
Thanks, Renner. Thanks, Igor, for that wonderful session. Very, very interesting and probably a different to what we usually think about BA or the BA skills and some very intuitive questions as well from yourself on the slide. So good. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
We see 2 questions on the Q&A. I believe most of you would have had it on the chat box. So if you don't mind, if I can just ask you to put your questions, the key questions into the Q&A, that would help a lot in being able to facilitate and read it through. So the first question is from Damien. Thanks for asking, Damien. So the first question is, how would you recommend a BA manage how would you recommend a BA manage a situation when a client doesn't know or cannot communicate what they need? So that's a question from Damien. Yeah.
That's pretty much the definition of our life, isn't it? So I mean, it's one. I think it's 2 different problems: when they cannot communicate it and when they don't know it, right? So if they can't communicate it, you can use a whole bunch of techniques to just tease it out differently. You can run all sorts of workshops or creative sessions, or ask them to show you the problem or just show you the process so you can observe and then, get into some decisions based on that or some insights. You just try to interrogate it differently until you get it. It's much harder when they actually don't know what the good looks like, and there is no way for them to tell you. And often that happens in a situation when the nature of your solution is kind of innovative to a certain degree. They don't know because they've never seen anything better, but they know that the current thing that they've got actually doesn't really work. And I think that's the situation when kind of the good defined agile process works really well, because they will never know until they see it. So the best way in my mind is to run a series of experiments and just try something different and see if it is any better. And then learn from that, what worked well, what didn't work well, so you can iterate until you actually land on something that will be better. And it may be that the first couple of prototypes will miserably fail, but from that you will learn what doesn't work, so you can focus on what may potentially work. Yeah. It's very controversial, but I've seen someone doing it once. They actually created a specification of something that they knew would be wrong, to share with their stakeholders to criticize. And through those critical comments, they actually teased what people might potentially see as like a good solution to their problem. I mean, that's a very bold move. I don't know if I would ever recommend doing it, but I've seen this being done. So yeah, it's probably just try to show people something so they can share feedback and run
sure
a couple of iterations.
Often people know what they don't want very clearly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks,
I
Igor.
hope that answered your question. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. The next question is from Tim. Do you see different skill profiles for in-house business analysts and consultant, or external BAs that make them great rather than good?
Great question. Yes. And no. So I think at the core, it is the same, right? It's all about that enabling the change that sticks and that adds value. But I think it can have a bit of a different flavor when you come from outside or when you are an in-house person. So For the in-house people, I feel like there's a lot of expectation on real in-depth knowledge of the business itself and stakeholder management. So effectively, as a business analyst, you are the one who knows how stuff works typically, or who to talk to about it. As a consultant, it is probably more an expectation to bring best practice from outside and be able to adapt it to the specifics of what you see in the business. So yeah, I think that's probably, at least that's the first thing that jumps to my mind, the key difference. So yeah, as a consultant, you obviously are not expected to know the business intimately, but you're expected to ask the right questions so that you can apply the best practice that you bring as a consultant. And as an in-house person, you are rather often referred to as like someone who is an expert of the business, of things, how they work, who are the people to talk to, who are the stakeholders, what do they need, what do they want, what will make them tick. And from there, you will be applying kind of your specialty. Well, at least that's, yeah, from my recent experience. I'm not sure if anybody else has different experiences.
Anybody else would like to take a take on further inputs on Tim's question? But I think Igor's, yeah, what Igor mentioned just makes sense between the difference in the skills of consulting versus in-house VAs. Yeah. All right. We'll move on to the question from Iris. Hello, Iris. So his question is, how do you ensure scope management, quality management, and change management are performed up to standard end to end? I'm expecting to make use of traceability between business needs and requirements to ensure everything hangs together. What are your thoughts? Brilliant question.
Hi, Iris. Nice to see your name. We will work together. So yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, I think traceability is probably one of the tools, definitely. I don't think it's the only tool though. So what traceability will allow you to do is make sure that you've got a structure in place that helps you kind of not lose something along the way from ideation to delivery, right? So it's a great tool to do that. Will it solve all the problems? Probably not. It may help when it comes to scope management for sure. So your traceability will help you ensure that your original scope is still respected when you go to detailed design or delivery. It may probably affect some elements of quality management when it comes to making sure that you understand how to prove good quality, like your test cases and scenarios. But I would argue it on its own will not solve quality problems like, do we have the right delivery process in the first place? Do we have the right quality gates for our solution? Do we engage the right stakeholders to provide input in the right moments of time? So I think there is more to it than traceability. So it's more the organizational design around delivery that will help make sure it happens consistently, and consistency of ownership of these services. So as a business analyst, you know that if you don't speak up about, say, quality at some moment in time, no one will. And chances are the final solution will not be as good as it could have been. So I think there's an element of that. And then if you do it constantly, at some point your stakeholders will expect you to do it, and they will expect other BAs to do the same. And in an ideal world, a funny thing will happen. At some point, they will make BAs accountable for it because they've seen it working and they've seen this to be adding value. So yeah, I think it all comes down to individual accountability and ability to actually see what needs to be done. And that's even more important with change management, because that is the thing that, yeah, it can easily fall apart, even if you've got a dedicated change manager. Yeah, often that person can miserably fail if they're not properly supported by someone with business analysis understanding of the problem, or they can do a stellar job if they are supported by that person well. So yeah, so sorry, it was a long way to say that I think the best way to ensure everything hangs together is, unfortunately, personal responsibility and accountability in the first place, and then good organizational design of those repeatable kind of services that are provided at different stages of your delivery lifecycle.
I just hope that answers your questions, and for everyone else as well. I'll quickly wrap off with probably 2 more questions. We're running short of time. Probably the question from Pan. How do we streamline decision making when it's pending with external stakeholders?
Oh, that's $1 million question. How do we streamline decision making with external stakeholders? Well, I don't think there's an easy answer. I mean, that really depends on the nature of your relationship with those stakeholders. So, if it is like a company-to-company relationship, you probably would have like a contract or SLA in place or something like that, that should make people accountable. If it doesn't happen, then, well, it really comes down to kind of business relationships and how the kind of account management works, or whatever is your scenario. So if you are, I guess, again, it depends which roles your organizations play. So say if you are a vendor and you got a client and they are not making decisions, well, if you've got good enough legal team, that will stop being your problem really, really quickly, because they'll be paying for like all the time that they spend. If you have a really bad legal team, like in the case that I explained earlier today, then you are in a lot of trouble, because, well, it'll be hard. So yeah, it really depends on, I guess, the nature of relationship. I guess if I am to give any advice, it's probably all around setting clear expectation for different options. So a decision being made and not being made by a certain day will have consequences. So doing your due diligence, understanding those consequences, and communicating to stakeholders, that's probably something that you would do just as a business analyst who knows what they're doing. And then it's kind of a little bit outside of your control, right? Because people are people. They take time, they get sick, they do other things, they forget about you, and they don't make decisions on time. So it happens.
Awesome. Thank you.
I was so hoping you were going to tell me I had magic powers to hurry people up.
Oh, you don't yet? Okay, you'll get in a couple of years.
You can try like coffee or lunch, and then.
Well, don't suggest bribing people, okay? All right.
Okay, I think we'll end the question and answer sessions there, because I think time's ticking. And for those of you who have still put a few more questions, I see some more very interesting questions. Please reach out to Igor directly. I'm pretty sure Igor will be happy to respond to you all. But we'll end the question session there. And yeah, over to you.
Thank you.
Aina, back to you.
Yes, thanks, Lakshmi. So we're nearing the end of the session, guys. So just a few more things from us, IIBA. So we've got an upcoming in-person networking event. So hopefully we can meet face-to-face. Igor, hopefully you will be there. We can meet again. This is on the Thursday, the 14th of March, Navigating Business Analysis Excellence for Career Growth by Maria Montgomery. This is, again, in person in Rialto South Tower in Collins Street, Melbourne, sponsored by Talent International Melbourne. So, yeah, looking forward. Register online to avoid missing out. Have a look at that link. Just have a look at the website. There's also lots of information on other events there. So, yeah, hopefully see you guys, see some of you there. The next event coming up in October, so quite a long way away. It's scheduled for the week of the 14th to the 18th across Australia. Combination of online and in-person. Festival of Business Analysis in Melbourne. It will be held on the Friday, the 18th. So make sure you put a placeholder in your calendar, book your tickets, go to our website, find more information. Yeah, we have a number of experienced BAs lined up. Great topics. Hopefully see you there. And next up is our study group. So if you are interested in joining, either becoming a facilitator or you want to be in attendance, study groups, please register, express your interest, scan the QR code We hold year-round study groups to help you with your career, help you with your journey in becoming a better BA. So keep an eye out on these activities in our event page on LinkedIn for any future announcements. Mentoring program as well. We have branches throughout Australia that runs mentoring program throughout 2024. To find out more information, go to that link, go to our website. Whether as a mentor or as a mentee, feel free to register and express your interests. This is for coming up. It will be, we're planning between March to September, so the next 6 months. We're planning one in Melbourne. So why do you want to participate? If you want to share your knowledge, you want to grow personally and professionally, and also, you can network. Good for your personal development and the satisfaction of helping others, connecting with others. So yeah, that's about our mentoring program. And then just want to give a quick shout out for tonight. So we have Lakshmi. Want to say a big thank you to Lakshmi for her help on helping with the Q&A. Hemant for helping with the technical setup for tonight, and Charmaine as well in the background helping us with the event. So thank you very much. So we need more volunteers. It's a non-profit organization, so we're all volunteers here. We're just trying to help the community to be better. So express your interest here, register, and yeah, we're always looking for people to help. Events, marketing, so lots of opportunities. So yeah. That's the volunteer. Follow us on social media, Facebook, X, Insta, LinkedIn, and yeah, just be involved in the community. Yeah, so that's about it. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your attention and your attendance tonight. Igor, again, thank you very much, mate. Looking forward to meet you in person, and looking forward to meeting some of you in person as well. So yeah, from all of us at IIBA Melbourne here, have a good evening. Thank you, and see you next time.
Thanks, Rainer.
Thanks, guys.
Event.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.
Great session.